Ages ago, Baekdudaegan Mountain rose tall between heaven and earth. And with that energy, all the other mountains rose along one by one. Water flowed down the mountains and reached the sea. The Korean peninsula is the land of the Baekdudaegan mountain range. The northward journey through the Baekdudaegan has taken us to Gangwon province. This area, surrounded by overlapping mountains, is Yeongwol in Gangwon province. A royal tomb lies deep in the mountain in Yeongwol. It is the tomb of Tanjong, the star of the greatest tragedy of the 500-year history of the Joseon dynasty. Every spring, there is a special cultural festival in Yeongwol. This is a reenactment of Joseon dynasty's royal funeral of the 6th king, Tanjong. The parade is headed to Gangnam, his royal tomb. Tanjong took the throne at the age of 12 and lived 3 years as king. After his uncle Sejo stole the crown from him, he was executed at the age of 17. Other royal tombs are located within 50 kilometers of the capital city. So why is his royal tomb in Yeongwol? In 1457, 3 years after he was dethroned, he was exiled to Cheongnyeongpo. He traveled for 7 days on palanquin and boat to arrive at Cheongnyeongpo. Access to his royal house was completely denied. Yukbong Peak was in the back, and the front was surrounded on 3 sides by the Seogang River. Cheongnyeongpo was completely cut off from the outside world. This island-like place still holds the 17-year-old Tanjong's loneliness and pain. What stands out the most in the royal yard is an old pine tree bent towards the house as if bowing. This is the Hongdo tree, named to commemorate the governor of Yeongwol, who collected Tanjong's body. And outside the wall is a pine tree, whose branch Tanjong would sit on as he sobbed, looking toward Hanyang. He sat in sorrow on the cliffs as he gazed toward Hanyang. And Mangyang Pagoda, which he built in longing for his queen. To the young Tanjong, this isolated place of exile must have felt like a remote prison. Changnyeongpo flooded due to heavy rain in Yeongwol that summer. Tanjong moved to the guest house of Yeongwol's government office. But after 2 months, his uncle, Grand Prince Kumsong's plot to reinstate him was discovered, and Tanjong was executed. He lamented his poor fortune in a poem. What happened to Tanjong after he was executed?
단종의 시신을 동강물에 버려진 이후에 그 시신을 수습하는 자는 삼족을 멸한다는 세조의 어명에도 불구하고 영월 호장으로 있던 그 어몽도가 그 단종을 시신을 수습해서 이곳에다가 그 암장을 하고.
This is where Hongdo buried Tanjong's body, which he whisked away in secret at great risk to his own life. The owner of the tomb was finally reinstated as king 240 years after his death, and the tomb was renamed Gangnam. There is another thing that sets Gangnam apart from other royal tombs. In the tomb area are a building and artifacts commemorating people other than the king. Who do all these names belong to?
단종으로 인해서 희생하거나 순절하신 충신들, 그다음에 조정의 관리들, 환관이나 군사 노비, 시녀들, 무녀들까지의 그 합동 위패를 모셔놨다는 것. 조선왕릉 중에서 가장 특이한 점 중에 한 가지로 꼽힐 수 있게 되겠습니다.
Gangnam is a historical place that has embraced the spirit of not only Tanjong, but everyone who made a sacrifice. Tragically, the king only lived a short life, but the feelings of those who revere him are still strong after hundreds of years. Baekdudaegan Mountain is located in the southern Baekdudaegan in Gangwon Province. This mountain, 1,567 meters tall, is considered the soul of Korea, a summoner of many travelers. Many people climb to the top every October 3rd to celebrate the founding of the first Korean civilization. They do it to hold Cheonje, a ritual to bring prosperity and harmony to Korean people.
태백산 천재 왕이요.
The event begins with a ritual master in ceremonial clothes who steps up to the altar and burns mugwort.
이제 제를 이제 하늘에 알리고 그다음에 제 지낸 사람들의 소원이나 풍요나 이런 것들을 가져다 두는 하늘님한테 알리는 거라고 생각하시면 돼요.
According to the history of the three kingdoms, in 138 AD, King Il-sung climbed Taebaeksan Mountain and conducted the ritual. In the Shilla dynasty, they divided the famous mountains and large rivers into 3 san and 5 ak, and they named Taebaeksan Mountain Bugak and held rites here. But why did they hold rituals on this mountain? Legends say the ancestor of all Koreans, Hwanung, came down to earth and founded the city of gods on Taebaeksan Mountain. But Taebaek referred to Baekdudaegan Mountain back then. Taebaeksan means mighty and bright mountain. This mountain, that towered in the middle of the mountain range, was called South Taebaek and considered holy.
백산 중에서 으뜸인 산이 태백산이고 민족의 영산이고 성산이죠. 우리나라의 가장 중심이다. 이렇게 보고 중심에 있는 산이 태백산이라고 생각하시면 됩니다.
It's not clear when the Cheonjedan altars were built here, but it is said that King Kuul of Gojoseon built it, and it was used to make offerings since ancient times. Cheonjedan is a group of 3 altars, Cheonwangdan in the middle, Changundan 300 meters to the north, and Hadan 300 meters to the south. Taebaeksan Mountain is the only mountain with such large altars at the peak. But these altars aren't ordinary structures built with rocks. Located on Yeonbong Peak, 1,560 meters above sea level, Cheonwangdan Altar stands over 2 meters tall and has a 27-meter circumference. But the top is circular and the bottom is square. This was based on the idea that heaven is round and earth is square. A little bit above, Changundan Altar stands on Changunbong Peak, the summit of Taebaeksan Mountain. Its side forms a triangle. Hadan Altar is smaller than Changundan Altar, and it forms a rectangle. So what do these differently shaped altars mean? The circle means heaven, square means earth, and triangle means human. Is that why? The 3 altars represent heaven, humans, and earth. They were for holding rituals in this most sacred area. The altar, where rites for heaven were held from ancient times. The tradition of Cheonje continues to this day.
천재인들은 9번 절합니다.
The participants of the ritual offer a drink and bow 9 times. Throughout the Goryeo and Joseon dynasties, governors, leaders, and people held Cheonje here. And in the late Joseon dynasty, patriots held the ritual to save the country from ruin. And during the Japanese occupation, despite oppression, the Independence Army held Cheonje too, keeping the tradition alive.
태백산 천재는 백두대간의 중심이고 여기서 사방으로 뻗어나가는 뿌리이기 때문에 여기서 지냅니다.
When the ritual is finished, it's the public's turn to participate. In earnest, everyone offers a devout prayer.
이게 손녀딸이 대학 수능 보는데 좋은 성적 내라고 빌었습니다.
우리 가족들 건강하게 잘 지켜달라고 빌었습니다.
The Taebaeksan Mountain Cheonjedan altar ritual continues the tradition of Korea's largest worship festival. And its rich history lives on at Taebaeksan Mountain, where the spirit of Koreans dwells. mountain ranges cut across rivers. Taebaeksan Mountain is the source of major rivers on the Korean peninsula. This spring from the limestone cave on Kumdaebong Peak is the source of the Hangang River. Samsuryong Pass is a hill that divides 3 rivers. Rainwater on the south side becomes the Nakdonggang River. Rainwater on the eastern side flows into Oshipcheon Stream. And rain on the north side becomes the Donggang River and Hangang River. Surrounded by overlapping mountains, Cheongsan is a remote area. And the residents sang of their hardships as they cultivated the rugged lands. People sing when life is good, and also when life is hard.
서산에 지는 해가 지고 싶어지나.
Cheongsan was always one of the most remote backwoods of the Baekdudaegan. Men spent their lives struggling to cultivate the rugged land.
반찬을 맛을 몰라 못 먹나 사절치.
People here were so destitute that women had usually consumed less than a bushel of rice before they reached marriage age. When tired or hungry from work, after breakups, and when pining for someone, when feeling resentment, people express their emotions in the song 아리랑.
정말 희노애락이 다 들어있어요. 완전히 정선 사람들한테 아라리는 완전 녹아져서 삶의 일부분이었던 거고요. 모아놓은 것들 따지면 뭐 6천수, 뭐 만수 그런 거는 뭐 충분할 것 같아요.
When did people begin to sing these songs of life? Most people say it began when ministers of the late Goryeo dynasty, who objected to the founding of Joseon, came here to isolate themselves from society. Their story was written into a song, and that song began the tradition of Cheongsan Arirang. In one of the region's most famous versions, they say the phrase, "The black clouds at Mansusan Mountain," represent Lee Seung-gae's soldiers. The land of seclusion the 7 sages arrived at after leaving their world. How did the song of the most secluded remote place spread throughout the entire country? Aoraji Lake in Yeoryang Township means merge because Songcheon Stream and Goljicheon Stream merge there. The water merges to form the Donggang River and then the Hangang River. Every summer they have a raft festival here. When wood was more valuable, Cheongsan's lumber was made into rafts and transported to Hanyang through the river. The 84-year-old Mr. Han Sang-yeol is the last oarsman, and he still remembers the old days.
기상들이 술을 떼다 싣고 올라와요. 창고층 올라와가지고 저 집으로 가자고 막 붙들고 막 그런 식이 있었어요. 항생을 된 꽃가리 떼지어
Cheongsan to Hanyang is 500 kilometers. Everywhere the oarsmen lodged had parties and singing, and these songs spread and provided the foundation for arirang all over the country.
술반 차려놓게.
One summer, a man and a woman in love who lived on different sides of Aoraji Lake were separated because of a flood. And a song written about them became one of the most famous of the Cheongsan arirang.
우리 민족의 아이콘인 거죠. 민족 아이콘, 문화 아이콘이 돼서 삶의 어떤 그 정서적인 측면을 담아내는 아리랑이야말로 계속적으로 어떻게 보면 판소리처럼 유지를 계속할 수 있는 전통적인 문화 자산이 아닐까 생각이 듭니다.
From the exhaustion of labor to the pain of a broken heart and humor of daily life, the song of life, Cheongsan's arirang, is still being passed down orally. Now, Baekdudaegan turns toward the East Sea and goes up north to Samcheok. "800 meters above sea level in Samcheok County, Gangwon Province, there is a small house buried deep in the forest. A nearly 90-year-old man has lived here all his life.
요 산대가 뭐한 뭐지 80년 넘었지. 내가 고생만 했어. 그 뒷막을 제가 내 손 닦고
The home where he led a life without greed, despite being impoverished, is made with a tree bark roof. Just like any other mountain hermit, this old man's workplace is the mountain. Mr. Chung Sang-hung takes an A-frame carrier on his back and scans the mountain. He needs to collect firewood for the winter. Mr. Chung moved up here when he was 30 years old, and he has spent half a century in that house. He raised 4 children there. There were about 15 houses in the neighborhood 20 years ago, but Mr. Chung's home is the only one remaining today. He worked hard and made a living from what the mountain offered.
이게 이름이 노루문기랑 찬란한 버섯이라고. 이래 보면 아주 그거는 뇌정색이잖아. 그래 먹으면 맛있어.
There is no water or electricity at Mr. Chung's house. He makes fire in the firebox and makes rice over a brazier. This house is almost 60 years old, and it even burned down once, but Mr. Jung rebuilt it with his own bare hands. Everything he can find in the mountain is material for his house.
굴피집은 참나무 껍질을 지붕 재료로 삼는 그런 집을 굴피집이라고 하죠. 삼척의 집들은 대부분 지붕 재료뿐만 아니라 뭐 벽체까지도 다 나무로 짓는 그런 집들이 굉장히 많았어요.
Until a few decades ago, slash and burn farmers formed a village in this remote location in the mountain. Back then, most of the houses had either tree bark roofs or silver grass roofs. A tree bark roof is made with the inner bark of oak or oriental oak. The bark is harvested in late August when the trees are full of moisture.
이렇게 보고 이래가지고는 가지 뜬 데를 이렇게 칼로가 이렇게 살을 내려와야 속살이 안 상하고.
The roof must be replaced every 3 to 5 years, so peeling and collecting bark is a pretty serious task.
이 귀뼈리 뺏기는 길이서 이 귀패는 길이라는 게 가지 물이 올라가지고 물이 자질라 할 때 뺏겨야 귀뼈 가죽이 끓기가 있고 터지잖아요. 하루 뺏기면 뭐 귀뼈 느낌 뭐 다시 뺏기죠. 그냥 안 지우고 댕겨 뺏기면은.
그 소나무를 많이 베서 이렇게 지붕 재료로 삼다 보니까 나무가 많이 상하는 거예요. 그래서 국가 정책에 의해서 나무를 못 베게 하니까 참나무 껍질인 굴피를 많이 사용하게 되죠. 굴피를 사용하게 되면 아무래도 수명이 짧아서 사람들이 지붕 있는 작업을 계속 해야 되는 그런 불편이 많았죠.
The peeled bark is pressed with rocks to make it flat, from a couple of months to a year before it is used.
옆에 물이 후진단 말이야, 들어간단 말이로. 그냥 이렇게 놓고 내가 좀 깊은 또 이다가 이렇게 연결 딱 생긴단 말이야.
The bark roof resembles fish scales. But nothing beats the bark for building a home deep in the mountains. The inside of the bark is like cork, so it doesn't leak, and it's great for insulation. Worried of floods and landslides, people installed a phone in Mr. Jung's house. But it's useless because he has bad hearing. Still, he is satisfied with his life here.
그 동네 사람도 할아버지 내려가라. 그래도 내가 여기 살면은 변하고 이제 모든 놀러 온 사람도 많이 찾아.
The mornings here, deep in the mountains, are very relaxing. With the sunlight warming up the house, Mr. Jung is up and about. His meal is simple, just potato soup and rice, but Mr. Jung is as spry as a 90-year-old can be. He used to raise cows and kept a big farm, but now he only grows a little for his children. Taking whatever the mountain offered, he made ends meet. And the bark roof house provided a warm home for his entire life. The old man and his house will share a life together and remain in our memories forever. Baekdudaegan divides the Korean peninsula into east and west. Through Daegwalyeong Pass is Gangnam, the eastern end of Gangwon province. Daegwalyeong Pass is the most rugged section of the whole mountain range. It is so rugged and steep that one could roll down it, so it was also called Daegulyeong, which means roll down. People still lived in this rugged area, and they climbed Daegwalyeong and went from the east to the west and vice versa. Was it because it was as high as heaven, or because it was difficult to climb? This path was a passage that connected gods to humans.
대관령 산신지신 오규존령 중진대동.
Gangnam's Tanoje festival begins with a ritual for the mountain spirit on April 15th on the lunar calendar.
대관령에서 와서 산신제를 지내고 여기 계신 국사 성황님을 모시고 우리 강릉에 있는 홍대동 여성사를 모시는 이러한 행사가 되겠습니다. 대관령은 원래 우리 강릉의 관문이자 진살이기 때문에 우리가 저 한양가제도 대관령 넘어야 되지 않습니까? 차도 많이 넘는 그런 안전 그리고 풍농풍어 또 이런 것을 기원하는 전통 행사가 바로 우리 강릉 단오제입니다.
After the ritual, they summon the mountain god of Daegwalyeong.
국사 소왕님을 고비 99고비 만주백관들 앞세우고.
The mountain spirit of the pass is General Kim Yu-shin of the Shilla dynasty. Another spirit is monk Pomil of the unified Shilla called Kuksasong Hwangshin. At the edge of the Daegwalyeong Pass Old Road is Haksan village. Gulsansa Temple was built here, where monk Pomil was born. People in this region made him their spiritual leader and accepted him as a local god. After the mountain spirit ritual, the ritual masters climb up to the mountain and hold the Shinmok ritual. Wood represents the god's holy body.
신목이 곧 신체거든요. 사실 신목이라는 것은 신과 인간을 잇는 다리 역할을 하는 거예요. 그래서 이제 그 신목을 모시고 강릉 사람들이 강릉 시내로 내려오죠. 그래서 단오제 기간 내내 신목을 모시고 그 굿도 하고 제사도 모시고 그렇게 해서 가장 중요한 상징입니다.
The tree standing tall toward heaven is the path that delivers humans' wishes to God and allows them to follow God's commands. As they carry the wood along the old road down Daegwalyeong Pass, the main event of the festival begins. The wood, which holds the spirit, is taken to the temple of his female counterpart to commemorate the day the gods became husband and wife.
두 분은 4월 보름부터 단오제 본제가 시작되는 5월 3일까지 여사랑당에서 두 분이 이제 합사를 하시거든요. 이게 남녀의 결합이 없이는 사실 모든 그 생산이 어렵지 않습니까? 우리가 이런 남신과 여신의 만남을 통해서 이렇게 풍요를 구가하는 강릉 단오제의 어떤 축제의 목적을 달성할 수가 있는 것이죠.
Gangnam's Tanoje Festival is one of Korea's most famous rites and festivals. It is a ceremony that summons divine spirits into the world of humans. The festival runs for over a month, and there are various ceremonies wishing for a good harvest and good fishing. Recognized for its cultural originality and outstanding artistry, it was named Korean Cultural Treasure 13 in 1967. And in 2005, it was designated as a Cultural Heritage of Humanity. The highlight of Tanoje is the summoning. The rakas ritual is held with colorful outfits and gong banging.
축제의 우리 고유의 말은 제 생각으로는 난장벌림일 것 같아요. 일시적으로 이제 그 축제 때만 쓰는 장인데 그때는 일상의 모든 질서가 다 뒤덮이는 거죠. 그래서 뭐 어떻게 생각하면 여러 가지 그 위험이 전부 다 파괴되고 그럼 사람들이 즐겁게 놀고 일상의 구속에서 벗어나는 그때 이제 정말 진정한 신과 인간이 만남에 이루어지는 거예요.
They believe that God will grant their wishes if he is sufficiently entertained, thus forgetting their worries. One of the most famous attractions of Gangneung's Danoje festival is the Kwan-no mask dance. Government slaves performed it silently as a part of the main ritual. Everyone is allowed to participate, and Danoje festival reaches its climax. The grand finale of the festival is Songshinje, the ritual that sends the gods off. Wishing for a life of safety and abundance. For ages, they served the gods with devotion and kept traditions alive. Gangneung's Danoje festival is a cultural ceremony where the emotions of the Korean people come to life. The wood holding the spirit and instruments used in the ritual are burned to put everything where they belong. It is a sacred and lavish festival where gods and humans become one. It will exist with the lofty, sacred Taegwalyeong Pass and live on for another 1,000 years. Let's head back to the Baekdudaegan and journey up north. This is Sogeumgang Valley, named for its breathtaking beauty. Past Sogeumgang Valley are the arms of Odaesan Mountain. It's the middle of the day, but the forest is so thick that no sunlight can get through. And this 2-kilometer forest of fir trees leads to Woljeongsa, a 1,000-year-old temple. Odaesan Mountain itself is part of religion. Buddha's noble teachings are found in various places, and Woljeongsa Temple is at the center. In 643 AD, the 12th year of Queen Seondok of Silla, the great Buddhist monk Jajang founded this temple, which survived through the Goryeo and Joseon dynasties and still exists today. Including Sangwonsa, an in-temple hermitage, Woljeongsa Temple has 8 hermitages, 64 branch temples, a fir forest, and has the biggest land area of any Korean temple. However, it was burned down during the Japanese invasions and Korean War and was rebuilt, thus only the stone structures provide proof of its long history. National Treasure 48, Woljeongsa octagonal 9-story stone pagoda, and Treasure 139, stone-seated bodhisattva, show us the Goryeo dynasty's magnificent Buddhist art. The bodhisattva, crouching facing the pagoda, is currently displayed in the museum at Woljeongsa Temple. Founded by Jajang of Silla, Woljeongsa Temple is revered as the shrine of the Bodhisattva of wisdom.
신라 시대 때 자장 열사께서 이제 중국의 오대산에 가셔서 문수보살을 이제 칭견하신 이후에 이곳이 우리 한국의 오대산이구나, 문수성지이다라고 하셔가지고 이곳에 부처님 진시사리를 모시게 되면서 성지가 되었습니다.
Jajang, enshrined Buddha's ashes at the peak of Odaesan Mountain. A hermitage surrounds the shrine of the ashes. It is built on a steep slope in tiers. Vairocana Buddha, the main Buddha of the Flower Garland Sutra, is in the middle, and Manjusri riding on a lion is situated on the left. That is why the name of this place means Lion Hermitage. Manjusri is the Bodhisattva of wisdom, and he appears to the public as a little boy. There are shrines of Manjusri in various spots on the mountain. That proves Odaesan Mountain is a cradle of Buddhism. The old road that connects Woljongsa Temple to Sangwonsa Temple is called Sonje-gil, the path of wisdom. This also came from Manjusri.
문수동자를 다른 이름으로 선제동자라고도 합니다. 그 선제동자가 갔던 길을 우리가 그대로 답습을 하면서 어린 아이같이 투명한 마음으로 이제 치유를 하고 스스로를 돌이켜보는 그런 바람으로 선제길이라고 이름 지었습니다.
This path leads to Sangwonsa Temple, the residence of numerous Buddhists who seek Buddha's wisdom. Sangwonsa Temple was founded in 724 AD. There's a tale about Joseon's King Sejo and Manjusri. King Sejo, suffering from a mysterious illness, sought Buddha's healing powers on Odaesan Mountain, but on his way he met Manjusri, who healed him. King Sejo described the appearance of Manjusri to a painter and had him draw a portrait, which the statue displayed here was based on. National Treasure 221, seated wooden Manjusri statue. Of all early Joseon Dynasty's Buddha statues, this is the most beautiful and well crafted. A pleasantly plump face with the hair in two buns and a natural smile gives this statue an air of childlike innocence. There is another treasure in Sangwonsa Temple, Tongjong Bell. Sangwonsa Temple's Tongjong Bell is National Treasure 36. This bell is 167 centimeters tall, weighs 2 tons, and is the oldest and most beautiful bell remaining in Korea today. An engraving on the shoulder of the bell says it was made in 225 AD, during King Seongdeok's reign, letting us know the origin of this bell. The shape, where it gradually grows wide around the middle and closes in slightly at the bottom, as well as the decorative features, became the model of all Korean bells. And the beautiful relief of heavenly maidens accentuate the Shilla bell's characteristics and artistry. When you ring the bell with a wooden striker, a lasting, clear sound reverberates throughout. This is also what makes Korean bells beautiful. The Manjusri religion that monk Tanjong brought ended up with the 50,000 bodhisattvas in the unified Shilla through monk Bochon and King Seongdeok. Tongjong Bell was made about 100 years after the time of monk Tanjong, in the time of King Seongdeok. The deep, full ringing of Sangwonsa Temple's bell spreads throughout Odaesan Mountain. the shrine of Manjusri, where Buddha's wisdom is sought. Seoraksan Mountain is just past Odaesan Mountain through Kuryongnyeong Pass. Northward lies Kumgangsan Mountain, Huchiryong Pass, and eventually Baekdudaegan Mountain. Although we can't reach it now, the Baekdudaegan is majestic as ever. The Korean peninsula is the land of the Baekdudaegan.